In this video, let's understand the basics about JSON format. As we can see that the output of a data mapper turbo extract is nothing but in the JSON format. Not just the data mapper turbo extract, but all the OmniStudio components, including data mapper, OmniScript, integration procedures, and flex cards, deals with JSON format when it comes to send input or return output or to parse the data. So it's super important that we have basic understanding about the JSON format. So here we can see that this data mapper is returning us the list of contacts, but the output format is nothing but in the JSON. And similarly, the input that we are passing to this data mapper is also in the JSON format. You can give in the key value pair, but at the end of the day, it will go as a JSON format. Similarly, we had also created one more data mapper. So this was our first data mapper. Here also we can see that the output is in the JSON format and input also comes in the form of JSON. So let's discuss this JSON structure in this video. For that, let me just open any of the JSON provider website. Let's say this one. So JSON, which stands for JavaScript Object Notation, is a way to represent the data. There are other types of format also, but JSON and XML are the most common ones that most of the technology uses. In JSON, we represent the data in a key value pair. JSON data is always stored in a curly braces. So this is how you will start the JSON. It will start with the open curly brace and ends with the end of the curly brace. And all the data that you want to store in this JSON will be within this. Now, all the data should be represented in a key value pair. The key is nothing but a string which represents that attributes. So we can say first name. Now here the first name is nothing but the key, and what is the value that you want to store here. Now first name looks like a string type, which means we will have some first name about some person. So it will definitely be in the string format. So here we can say that test is the first name. So now this, you see, this is the JSON. In that I have one attribute or one key value pair, first name, and the value is nothing but test. Similarly, I can have another key. I can say that last name, and here also it will be nothing but test name, let's say. Now this itself represents a JSON. It's a valid JSON, and if you just click on this, you see the output is coming properly, which means it's a valid JSON. But let me just remove this value and show you the error. So there is no value right now. So when I click on that, I see an error, right? So it's not a valid JSON, but this is a valid JSON because it starts with the curly brace, ends with the curly brace, and it represents the data in key and value pair. So here, this is the key and this is the value. Now the key will always be in string format, but the values can be of different types. For example, string, boolean, number, or even the object. Now object is nothing again but the JSON, which means that a parent JSON can contain a child JSON. Let's go back here again. Here if you see, this was the JSON. In that JSON, this is the key. List of cases are nothing but the keys. So what is the value it is storing is nothing but array of JSON. So this was the parent JSON, and the list of case is one of the attribute which has array of JSON. So which means that list of cases will have multiple cases, and each case is represented within the JSON. So here we have the keys. Now this structure is something that we built right now, where we have JSON, we have key, the value, key, value, key, value, everything is string. And again, I have another JSON. Now, since in this attribute, I would like to have two JSONs, so that is why this will be stored within an array. Now this array is having two cases. So this list of cases itself is an attribute which has a value as array of JSON. So this is one of the type of value you can have for your keys. So we just saw that we can have key and value in string format. I can also have, let's say, revenue. And this is something should be in a number format. So this 1000 is representing the number. Now here the key is again in string, but the values are in number format. So we can have one more attribute, let's say is married. Now this is something should be in boolean format. So we can say that true. So this person is married. Now this is another type of value that we can have. As we saw in our data mapper, the JSON itself can be stored as a value. So let me create another attribute. I'll call it address data. And let's say this is coming from some different object. And this address data I would like to have in a JSON format. So here now the value will be in another JSON, or we can say that object. Now this address data is representing another JSON or another object. In this you can again have attributes. Let's say street address, and this could be number, and then you will have I just have to give another comma here, which I missed. So every attribute should be separated by a comma. So this is what was missing here. And I have street address as 1, and you can have city. So let's call it test city, right? And you can have any number of attributes within this JSON also. So this was our parent JSON, which was, let's say it was a patient information. Within that we were having these attributes, and then within that we also want to have one more JSON structure. And let's just see if this is correct. Yeah, this is correct. So we see that this JSON structure is also valid. And let's just see an example that we saw. If we go back here, and here you will see that we had list of contacts, which was a JSON. And if you see, this JSON was having last name, ID, first name, account ID, and account. Now this account is again another JSON. As you remember, what was this? This was the parent information. So all the parent information will come as another JSON node. Now if I have to access this information name, I have to go through this attribute account. Again, we can see that all of this contact is stored as an array in this key called list of contacts. So this JSON starts from list of contacts attribute, which has array of contacts. Each of the contact is represented as a JSON, and within that we have key value pair, key value pair, key value pair, and then we also have account data, which again is a JSON structure, right? So this is how we are representing the data. Now how to parse this data, how to extract the first name out of it, how to extract the annual revenue out of it is something that we will see when we are retrieving this data into other components, and we have to parse this data. So we will see that at that moment. So let's see other type of data type also. We saw string, we saw number, we saw boolean, we saw object. And again, as we saw, we also have type called array. So you can also have array. Representing array would be, again, you will have a key, let's say favorite numbers. I'm just giving a random array, and since this person can have multiple numbers, so let's store it in an array. So this is how array is represented, and in this one I would store, let's say his favorite numbers are 3, 6 and 9. So now this key is again string. So the keys are always represented as string, but the values could be different types. So we have string, we have number, we have boolean, we have JSON itself as the value, and now we are seeing that array itself is the value. So I need to add a comma here again, and let's just validate if it's correct. Yes, this is correct. So we can see that this is a valid JSON which has all types of attributes. So one more data type that you will see most of the time would be null. So let's say credit card, and for this one it is null. What it means is there is no value stored in that, so it's a null. And again you will see that it's coming as null. So this is how JSON is represented, and all of our outputs will always be in the JSON structure. Now since we have done this exercise, now it will be easy to understand how this is represented. This is the parent JSON node, which has an attribute called list of contacts. It only have one attribute. Why? Because we saw that that is the only attribute we had given, that everything will be stored within the list of contacts. So list of contacts is where everything is stored. So the value for list of contact is nothing but array, an array of objects. We just saw that array can store any type of data. Here we were storing numbers, and here we are storing JSONs as a value for the array. So we have array of JSON. Within that JSON, we have some of the attributes like last name, ID, first name, account ID, and then we have another attribute called account, which is again a JSON. And then this structure will keep on repeating for every possible contacts. So this is how JSON is represented, and understanding how JSON looks like, how to work with JSON is very important in OmniStudio, because you can see that even the input that we will be passing to these data raptors or to integration procedures or to flex card, everything will be in a JSON format. So here, since I had to pass account ID, so that we are passing as a JSON, again in the same way, key and value. So the key is ec ID and the value is this.